Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Wake Up Missoula. I am your host, Scott Ramf. It's been warm, and things are only going to get warmer from here on out as we're pretty much done with any kind of cold spell, and we can expect to see some heat going into the weekend. We had 80 degrees, but it was pretty hot the other day, just in time for the 80th anniversary of D-Day, the storming of Omaha Beach, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to jump right in. We got a very big, thick morning show for you guys. Between City Council, which goes in deeper into the homeless encampment and how the city is working on dealing with situations and creating buffer zones between facilities where people cannot stay. But the biggest question on everyone's mind, especially during the meeting that went over an hour longer than the meeting was scheduled for, was where are they supposed to go? A question that they were working on for the last 5 weeks and still didn't really have a clear answer for a lot of folks here in the city of Missoula. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk a little bit more, and also your art guide for your first Friday, which gives you a little scope of some of the art stuff that is happening for the June 7th. So let's jump right in. Monday's meeting was roughly about an hour long. Most of the meat and potatoes of this city council report will come from committee of the whole, but we're going to kick things off with most of these other meetings that kind of goes into some of the more procedural stuff. And so they talked about a proclamation recognizing June as Pride Month here in Missoula. Another day was National Gun Violence Awareness Day, so people who are wearing orange for today is celebrating National Gun Violence Awareness Day based on Hadinia Pendleton, who was 15 years old when she was shot and killed in Chicago in 2013. So that's been a color that they've been associated with the National Gun Violence Awareness Day. They spoke about the fiscal year 2025 budget as they look to improve the process and be more transparent to items and programs and how many funding sources interact with multiple entities and departments. Mayor Andrea Davis talks about this process, and this is what she had to say.
Some department presentations already, and we'll continue with those through the month of June. The program inventory process is a new process that we've undertaken in each department, where basically every program in every department has more or less filled out a form, and those are attached to every single budget document that you have available to you, as well as the public. And what it does is it just describes the mandate, the trend, and some additional detail about that program in each department. And I've gotten good feedback from the finance department as well as others that it's been a good internal process, and it should be also a good external process for us as well, just to provide some additional information.
Yep, and so the transparency of this is important for the city to convey because for the most part, some of the older trends and transcripts of the budget were pretty much just like you have to be a glorified accountant to really kind of understand a lot of that stuff. And Mike Nugent, City Council, likes the process beyond what the city has done in the past, and this is what he had to say.
I'm excited for the new budget process. I think that one of the comments that we've heard quite a bit is if you really pay attention to the process, you know how to dig through the website, but that kind of idea of a cover sheet and information that helps people understand what's in each fund, I think is a really good step forward in kind of providing the information that some people like to look at. And I think anytime we can illuminate where the requirement to fund a program comes from, or how those funds possibly come from something like a road district that can't be shared outside the district or things like that, I think that's really important. So I really appreciate the steps that you all are taking for this process to make it even more transparent.
Okay. And so based on transparency and all that kind of stuff, the budget is available through the city's website, and Engage Missoula also has a link to the budget for this year, including the presentations as they come up, and with links and more to give you the connection and everything related to that. So, of course, something unrelated to the city, but MCAT's old office space is now being used by 3 organizations, and Andrea Davis talks a little bit more about those new organizations that are on our 500 North Higgins address.
Very commented, I wanted to congratulate what used to be called the Western Montana Gay and Lesbian Center. It's now the Center, and they've relocated from 127 North Higgins, which is the old JCPenney's building, where many organizations have started over the years, including the organization I worked for so many years, Homeward. And we were located in that same building for many, many years, as well as the testing center. They've relocated to 500 North Higgins, where the old Missoula Community Access Channel location was. So down in that basement area, They redid the space, and there are 3 organizations that are sharing the space. It's the center, it's the, oh gosh, I just lost the name, but the STD testing center, and then it's also the Two Spirit organization. So a lot of good synergy there. It's also a community center and place for people to gather and feel safe. And
Perfect place just in time for Pride Month here in the city of Missoula. We're going to jump right into your committee meetings as we talk about land use and planning on code reform to bolster equity, supply, and affordability, and how the code currently doesn't help the modern building practices match those goals for the city. Ben Brewer, planning supervisor for CPDI, talks about this process, and this is what he had to say.
Throughout the Up Missoula project, the city is embracing the opportunity to reorganize and reform our development codes. This will give the city better tools for encouraging development that contributes to shared community goals. Examples of these goals are affordable housing, equity, and climate change mitigation. It will also make the code more clear and easier to use for residents and businesses. So the code diagnostic is a critical step in understanding what changes are needed to align our development regulations with our community's vision for the future.
All right, and so this is just a continuation of updating this process, moving back and forth. Up Missoula was drafted and implemented throughout before the pandemic and has been updated constantly to help bolster affordable housing as a means to curb demand through code reform. This all has to do with density zoning, which many neighbors had a change in their aesthetic and character, and Ben talks about the old neighborhood versus some of the new ones.
In residential zoning districts, we see that zoning standards are out of alignment with the existing form and character of Missoula's oldest residential neighborhoods. It's common to see the same zoning district in different contexts. For example, the R5.4 zoning district is applied to both the University District neighborhood and the Farview's Patty Canyon area, despite different patterns of development.
And some of the issues that we run into in terms of trying to build a density in some of these older neighborhoods especially is because grandfathered in. It's a common phrase that the city has done in the past with Missoula being a more single dwelling code and simple. These homes are too expensive to sell and redevelop with a higher density, since many of these lots with larger homes are already there, thus new land suffers the high density, and neighborhoods with undeveloped lots will deal with high density. So Ben talks about what he wants the city to update, and this is what he had to say.
And discussions that help shape these principles, it became clear that it would be beneficial to distinguish between which of these were related to the organizational aspects of the codes versus the substantive side of how they align with city policy goals. So we've presented them broken out between these categories. Since releasing the code diagnostic, CPDI staff has been hearing input and feedback on the recommended guiding principles, and we've included some updates to what's included in them. These conversations occurred internally amongst different departments and department teams and leadership, as well as facilitating a discussion around this with the project's community advisory group and receiving written comment from the Common Good Missoula zoning and housing research team, and also individual members of the community.
All right, and say, let's go back to my notes. If Missoula never had a major impact of growth over the last few years, then they could have kept up in terms of those earlier drafts of our Missoula growth policy, which pandered to new housing types to help blend with traditional neighborhoods. But with population booms and the lack of cheaper housing, the city became proactive to help mitigate the influx of people with more infill opportunities when they come up in zoning. So budget and finance, we're going to jump right into that, talk about community planning, development, and innovation, which is the CPDI department, which this is, the last one is more about updating the zoning and how their jobs implement a lot of these plans to help bolster this kind of stuff. But now we're actually getting to the meat and potatoes of them, because this is their budget. So they're looking to get some money. Christian Hands, CPDI, talks about money and how many people are in this particular department and how much revenue they use.
17% of the budget is received from our Affordable Housing Trust Fund, Community Development Block Grant, Home Grant, and Brownfields grants. 12% is received through our building fund revenue. These are our building, electrical, plumbing, and mechanical permits tied to the subsequent inspections. 9% is received through licenses and permit fees. For example, our business licenses, liquor and beer licenses, as well as permits such as zoning compliance permits, stormwater pollution prevention permits, sign permits, and our short-term rental registrations. And 3% of our revenue is received through intergovernmental transfers, such as our planning mills, which pass through the county support for our Reaching Home program, and then our National Institute of Health project-related grant revenue.
All right. And so they get a lot of money from different sources. They do definitely get a big one from tax revenue, but they're a big part of the process when it comes to grants writing and getting that additional money. And with 65 employees, the department deals with a lot of development, permitting, and approval with developers to get the zoning and usage rights to match with state law and more. Susan Patrick, CEO of United Way Missoula, talks about these funds that have supported and helped those in need, and talks a little bit more about how the temporary safe outdoor space and the Johnson Street shelter have also benefited.
We know that Johnson Street is not ideal for permanent shelter, but it is currently the best option we have for providing shelter to unhoused Missoulians, particularly during severe weather conditions. People staying at Johnson Street include elderly and disabled people, veterans, and working folks who are contributing to our tax base and economy who simply cannot afford housing in this current market. As you know, we can't look to the state for help. Despite a record budget surplus, the state has offered little support to communities struggling with the shelter crisis. And the nonprofit sector alone cannot shoulder the responsibility for year-round shelter. We need and respectfully request continued city funding for Johnson Street.
And some of the biggest issues as well is that United Way and Sovereign Hope Church also helped fund the temporary safe outdoor space with the pallet housing, and they developed this using the American Rescue Plan money and the CARES Act money to help bolster this kind of stuff. Unfortunately, one of the things that they're not able to do is keep this funded well until the end of 2025, which on top of that, they are also in the middle of requesting a $1.8 million deal for the Johnson Street shelter for another round of funding to be funded through September to August 2025. So Susan Patrick, she spoke about the amount of people who have used the shelter with 20,000 overnights and 900 plus unique individuals served, with over 190 being veterans. Housing and redevelopment. They talked about insurance and sale of $9.8 million of principal amount of tax increment senior subordinate urban renewal revenue bonds. So this is the Rivara project, north side. This has to do with a lot of housing and just trying to figure out the best way to kind of do this, and consisting of $4.2 million series, 224A, and $5.5 million with to 2024B with the phasing in connection with the Rivara project. Oh, and of course, I won't go into this one, and I'll, as we're talking more about these housing opportunities and lack thereof, one of the things that they're talking about is urban camping. And so the city of Missoula hosted a work group for 5 weeks, different Wednesdays, try to come up with a solution to help deal with the urban camping, especially during the summer months. And it kind of felt, especially during this meeting, as it come to fruition, that the fact is that it seemed like they were trying to pander more towards a lot of the residents who are uncomfortable with seeing homeless folks, rather than helping the homeless folks find a place to set up shop when the Johnson Street shelter or the Poverello Center or even the pallet housing, which is still backed up with people trying to get in, trying to find a place for them to be. We're going to jump right in, and Mayor Andrea Davis talks a little bit more about what they've been doing and some of this process in the beginning.
Right now, through that work, we have been able to provide an additional 165 emergency beds at Johnson Street. And we have partnered with Missoula County and Hope Rescue Mission and others, United Way, to help fund operations, site relocation, and facility improvements at the temporary safe outdoor space. That work that continues with United Way, Hope Rescue Mission, and Missoula County includes 30 pallet shelters, is what they're called, at the temporary outdoor space. Currently, our current budget for the Johnson Street operations is around $1.7 million, and that's funding that is from September of 2023 through 2024. So we'll again.
All right, so like I was saying, if they don't have any kind of funding set aside and put in place for this next fiscal year budget, they won't be funded from September till August 2025. So they're still working that budget out right now, and they will have this to finally approve later on in the early parts of August when they actually bring it up to the public and the city council for approval. Many additional shelters were created to combat the growing homelessness in Missoula brought in by higher cost of living and lack of affordable housing. Amber Sherrill Council talks about the summer in Missoula and other things. Let's see here, where was I? Yep, Amber Sherrill.
But school is out on June 7th, and soon after, the camps will start in some of our parks. Kids will be in the playgrounds. People will be swimming and tubing in the river. We have a tourism industry that helps our businesses thrive, and we will have more people on our trails and families outside. I think that the resolution recognizes that these spaces are important, but it also is giving some areas that we will not be enforcing, some areas that we will be enforcing what is currently on the books. We're calling those the buffer zones that will help mitigate the impact to our community as a whole. And the other places that we will not be enforcing what is already on the books based on certain time, place, and manner while we work on these other responses, because it is just not feasible or practical that we're going to have these other things set up immediately.
All right, and as you can see, camping ordinances will not be enforced from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m., and so that's a big thing for a lot of people that go into parks and these places next to the river, basically kind of close to downtown. They go into these places and then they just kind of set up shop, but they don't want people to set up shop for a more permanent basis based on this outline and resolution. Stacey Anderson reflects on the working group, and this is what she had to say.
I think that what the working group really showed is that there is no singular answer to many of these complex problems. It wasn't, after all of these hours of people with lived experience, council, service providers, a pretty impressive group of people trying to figure out what are some options. There wasn't a unified, if we just do this, this will solve all the problems. Just like there are many complicated reasons that cause people to be unhoused and unsheltered, the individual solutions are complicated. And we, as a city, with the limited resources that we have, do not have the ability to meet every single individual need. And we have to try to do the most good for the most amount of people.
And for the most part, there's definitely a lot. There's more people than the services are being provided. The simplest solution is money allocated for services in both service providers. However, as we look in back and forth of the city council, it was clear that the city had their own intentions and interpretations, which frankly banned urban camping in certain areas. Proponents of the resolution say it was meant to share the space without getting in the way of each other. So with a bunch of talking points of the city, we're going to throw it over to the citizens. Mark Loss, the Chamber of Commerce, which was part of the working group as well, gives his input on the matter, especially in matters of river access.
The businesses of Missoula are looking for a swift resolution of action to help reduce the challenges of unhoused, to include property crime, sharps, camping without regard to buffer zones in our business districts, as well as along the river of the campus. The cost of these issues are greatly impacting not only our business owners, but customers as well, as costs are passed to them. Please look at number 9, buffer zone along the river that you have listed as 50 feet. 50 feet is not very far. I have an office that sits on the river, and I watch all the camping activities across the river for me that include trash, sharps, enormous amount of alcohol activity that come across the bridge. I'm asking if you would take a look at moving that buffer zone to 300 feet to help eliminate the camping on the river that not only pollutes the river, that the folks that are flowing the river see, since there are other areas in the community that you are going to open up or leave open for this camping.
All right, and that was one of the many talking points of past issues when it comes to a lot of this urban camp, because they used to have it off of Clark Fork River near Reserve Street Bridge, and part of that was the health department basically said that we're not living up to the state law of a clean and livable climate, with the river being dealt with a whole bunch of trash, and so they use that as a way to basically evict all those people from the site and area. Was it right? That's another question. Laurel Hess, Ward 3 resident and direct service provider, worries about the constant moving of tents, and this is what she had to say during public comment.
I'm specifically concerned about the 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. restriction requiring people to pack up all of their belongings. I am curious as to what that accomplishes beyond people who just don't want to see tents, who find that offensive or scary in some way. I fear that it will destabilize people. People will lose belongings. And honestly, if you pack everything up, where are they going to go with all of their belongings? We don't have these lockers or safe storage areas yet. Not everybody has transportation to move them. Even when we do have these storage units, people may end up at places like the library or even businesses where they have all of their belongings with them, which I think will only push people into more conflict with the larger community.
All right, and so yeah, I mean, a lot of times people want to find a place where they can set up shop and basically kind of grow from there. And Josh Decker, as a resident, also talks about some of the issues with the buffer and just the idea of enforcing it.
We're not going to use a ruler. Well, why would you use the designation of a specific number of standard measuring units like feet to determine where people can and can't camp if you're not going to use a ruler to enforce it? It just, the lie is in the room, and it just says whatever this resolution states, ultimately it's going to be discretionary. When people are camping in crisis acceptably, then they will be allowed to do so, apparently. Maybe. We have yet to determine that. But when people are like breaking the rules of decorum or appearance or various other things, then they're not going to be allowed to camp there. But we're not going to get out the ruler, but when we write the resolution, we're going to be dang sure that we include a certain number of feet from certain this or that. Also, I would just challenge the whole environmental aspect of the argument. I mean, we have thousands of people floating on our river each week, all summer long. They're producing a massive amount of litter, which includes beer cans and other things that we've discussed as exclusive litter of the unhoused population. You know, come on, let's test the lies that we're telling in the room.
All right, and so that was Josh Decker. So there's quite a bit of public comment that went back and forth on this particular matter. The two schools of thought from this process are clear: from doing the right thing for the houseless individuals or simply doing lip service for citizens who simply just don't like seeing these people pop up in the neighborhoods and public places. Yeah. So anyways, Brad Carlson with the working group talks about the area on the map, and he's very frustrated and also concerned because he has been bouncing around like many other people in the community, trying to find a place to just go to.
This resolution pretty much goes against every single thing I recommended against. I showed you the map, you wanted to question it. I didn't see any of you make a map to show what the effects of this would be. It basically turns into a banishment. And if you don't comply with the banishment, are we then going to be, criminalized? And those of us that do comply are going to be forced to the outskirts of towns where we will have a lot more negative interactions with the wildlife and conservation areas you might want to protect.
All right, and he also mentioned the fact that the city of Missoula is also in a buffer zone, so a bear buffer zone. So as we get further out, then you got to deal with some bears. Designated spaces cannot exist without liability attached to it. And having city officials say go to one place gives the weird legal precedent that the city tends to hide behind in many of these cases. Jill Bonney, Poverello Center Executive Director, talks about the city's relationship with homeless people and how even some of the employees out of the POV have to deal with this.
Every time we do something where we're moving people, what happens is our homeless outreach team goes out and they've really developed relationships with people living outdoors. And they go out and make contact with people and try to build those relationships and connect people with services. And then someone who shows up to tell them to leave. And they're making that connection as the hot team reporting where they are to the people who are enforcing. It has been affecting the hot team relationships for a while, and I am concerned it's going to continue.
Yep. So that was Jill Bonney, the executive director of the Poverello Center, talking about some of the issues with having people constantly moving around so much. It's just hard to nail some of these people down to give them the help and services that they need. Not to mention, the Poverello Center already is on a waiting list and slash a weird lottery system that they pull a name and you get a chance to stay at the POV for 3 months, and you know whether the services are able to provide adequate transitional housing, it's up in the air. Who knows? But overall, they have issues, and so do we. But while we might not have the fortitude, not many people have safety nets beyond government help, and this working group, as public comment comes in, seems to be very disturbed at the idea of writing these buffer zones as a slap in the face. Jenny Vader phones in the last comment and wraps up all my comments for this topic.
Some of the folks here have also mentioned the example of cleaning up the Clark Fork, but one example that stuck out to me by Councilman Nugent was about MRL Park and how it's being underutilized because of the Johnson Street shelter. But MRL Park is being used by our community. You're saying that MRL Park is meant to be used only by community members who are housed. And those community members who are living in the shelter next door and using the park, they don't count or they don't matter. This resolution puts preference on the comfort, not the safety, the comfort of middle and upper middle class folks and businesses over the dignity and safety of people experiencing houselessness. Let's find better solutions that provide for the dignity, safety, and comfort for all of our community members, effective and equitably. So let's vote no on this resolution and do better.
All right. And so towards the end of the meeting, they voted to actually move forward on this resolution to Monday's meeting, in which they said they could add amendments and change some things along their lines. And it actually got pretty heated towards the end of the meeting. I wish I could show you the clips, but there was some language being thrown around between Ward Representative Christian Jordan and the council leader, basically storming out, calling BS, as the item is simply being pushed to Monday. This meeting started at around 3:30 and was supposed to end at 5, but lasted over an hour longer. And as this working group meant well, but when dreams outweigh reality, costs tend to falter. But the city managed to come up with a series of policies to help mitigate this growing issue in Missoula. A lot of people spoke in length during public comment about prioritizing our most vulnerable residents, to which the city moved and proved their priorities on this matter. Before I go, I wanted to mention that MCAT recorded and published all MCPS area high school graduations from the Hellgate, Sentinel, Big Sky, Willard, and Saley Swan High School. So you guys can check this out on our YouTube page at MCAT Television via YouTube. And without further ado, here's a little taste of all the graduations that happened last weekend.
Every interest we pursue, every book we read, and every person we meet. We learn from our families, friends, teachers, school staff, classmates, and community members. So please find those special people in the next couple of days and thank them for their help in getting you to this stage today. So graduates, as you walk across the stage in front of all your friends, family, and community members who've cheered you on along the way, know that we are all so proud of what you've accomplished. When you succeed, each and every one of us benefits. So congratulations again, class of 2024. We can't wait to see what you do next.
Graduates, I like to think that you've learned a lot from your teachers, but the door swings both ways. I can honestly say I've learned a thing or two from you. Jillian, you taught me that you kids are tough and resilient. and that a student can endure many things and many challenges on any one given day. Jacob and Caden, you taught me that there are some things that you just can't bring to school. I think we can laugh about that now.
For you, staying upwind means doing the hard work of developing useful skills. Learn to write really well. Learn to express yourself through art. Develop social skills. Learn how to deal with conflict. Get good at math and be curious. Stay upwind. Surround yourself with smarter, more talented people. They will make you better. Students often ask me what they should major in. Majors are pretty much useless. Major in great teachers and hard classes. Show up on time and raise your hand. Stay upwind.
These past 4 years have undoubtedly been a whirlwind. Sentinel High watched you navigate academics, online learning, extracurriculars, personal growth, and all the complexities of teenage life. Yet you persevered. You tackled through problems, you explored new passions, you discovered your strengths, and maybe even discovered a few things you still want to figure out.
Many of you I've known a long time. Some of you might have even worn my son's hand-me-down Carhartts. Some of you spent a lot of quality time before and after school working on math. A few of you I've only known for a couple of years while I was subbing at the high school for Miss Lapkin, Miss Stone, and analyzing those car drawings during Algebra 2. But there's something that I do know about all of you, and that is that you have, I'm squeezing my butt cheeks for a second. You have a great amount of potential. And if you think about what an impact we could have if we all lived up to that potential.
Welcome back. Let's jump right in. We're going to be talking about some of the new movies that are coming out this weekend, including your First Friday art guide for the city of Missoula. And we're going to jump right in. We're going to talk about that Will Smith movie that's coming out this weekend. Yes, Will Smith is making a movie. We welcome Will Smith and Martin Lawrence back as they team up again to fight the bad guy with the only thing these bad guys know: violence and quips. Something tells me that Will Smith will be sharpening his slapping hand for this one, as we have a film that will not only redeem Smith, but will make people want to be like, hey, you know what? I want to slap Chris Rock myself. Enjoy a weak plot of police corruption forcing the duo to go off the books to help their boss, who might as well have zoomed in their performance. Finally, we have The Watchers. Nice to see Dakota Fanning again, and in this film, she'll be trapped with a bunch of other wannabe actors for both are and unseen monsters, using the people as a twisted Shakespeare in the park. But this park feels more like an ant farm for giant bugs who, after a hard day's work in the tunnels, just want to see some humans in a very dark sitcom kind of setup. Something tells me they will leave their enclosure to try to escape, only to realize the bugs are the least of their worries. Watch out, because M. Night Shyamalan's daughter is directed in this film, so good luck and expect a Nepo baby twist. All right, then we're actually gonna not do dubbing stuff right now. We're actually gonna save it for a little bit later. We're gonna jump right into some of the art stuff that are happening in and around the city of Missoula. Kicking things off is Terry Carson, who's going to be featured at the Missoula Art Museum and also doing a talk this evening as well, starting at 4 p.m. with Missoula Art Museum Senior Curator Brandon Reiches, artist Sarah Mast, and Chris Carson. It's his first Friday celebration exhibit, following from 5 to 9 p.m. with live music by Russ Nassett and the No Host Bar. And so that's going to be happening at the MAM tonight. Most of these are all starting around 5 o'clock, and this is going to be at the Clay Studio of Missoula. This is Shed Light, featuring Matthew O'Reilly, is an exhibition and is an exploration of self-portrait. This will transcend traditional limits of self-portraitures, inviting viewers to engage with the tangible and intangible aspects of identity, memory, and emotions. Each piece is fusion of form and function, where the vessel becomes a canvas for personal expression and the individual's place to place a broader on broader society. Yeah, a lot of word pasta right there, but drawing inspiration from diverse sources such as mythology, folklore, and contemporary issues, each piece becomes a story inviting viewers to contemplate the complexities of the human condition. So you guys go check that out. It's going to be the Clay Studio of Missoula. Upcycle is doing an exhibit called Just My Type, featuring the bookbinding creativity of Donna Erickson from Missoula, Montana, growing up in a ranch near Missoula. She worked with her hands, maker, fixer-upper, and reuser. The rural background fosters sensitivity to aged, worn material. Donna is a mixed media artist, bookbinder, and art journaler who loves color, texture, and all things paper. She loves bookbinding at Hollanders in Ann Arbor, Michigan in the 1990s and has since built hundreds of journals, sketchbooks, and planners. It is a distinctive due to the use of upcycle and vintage materials, wood, leather, game boards, discarded books, vintage paper, junk mail, fabrics, music scores, and more. So this is what's going to be happening at the Upcycle this evening. Then we jump right into the Conflict Center. They're doing the Shake the Raw Goddess, hailing from Philippines, Montana. This is a long-held passion for fly fishing and highly influenced in the artwork. The body of work is a collection that spans 3 different periods and styles, exploring the forms and movements of flies and leaping fish in the highly gestural and mildly absurd sumi-styled ink compositions. They also worked with paint and other personal interests ranging from pop culture to conspiracies. And then there's also another artist, Kuficio, is a Native American, native Montana and fine arts graduate from the University of Montana. Her unapologetic bold of mixed media and collage pieces focus on the strange and often heartbreaking aspects of life. With the body of work, she experiments with the collage of photos, transfers, taking joy in many of the steps process to get the final result, which always is a surprise. We're going over to Bernice's Bakery with the works by Lucas Young. This is a digital collage. Smithereens is a collection of digital collage work that was created throughout 2023 and 2024, presenting a renewed effort towards photography and visual arts and exploration of digital collage as a medium. Much of the satisfaction of this work is derived from observing in ways in which images interact with other images, whether whole or as fragments, leading to the creation of imaginative new landscapes and designs. They have been willing to commit into a single compositional direction, continuing to explore the new ideas and approaches in their art. And then we're going to move on over to Art in Motion, which can be at the Wren Hotel. The Wren Hotel is a new installation. See the Emperor Tower, who will be doing a live art demonstration accompanied by performance and MTPR personalities. Brian Ramirez and Sasha Bell will be spinning a mix of city pop, world disco, 80s R&B, and giving way to groovy station swag. Their will cater to the event, and Young Mazda will showcase one of their latest cars, while supporting performance artists. Performance fees. Coral Rains will work showcased in the gallery, and stay tuned for more information. Finally, to wrap up our first Friday, there's a lot of things happening for First Friday, but these are the ones that have some of the art teases for you guys to kind of see. Brushstrokes of the Big Sky, Amanda Hardin, is going to be featured at the Artist Shop, a blend of oil and acrylic, integrating abstract elements with intricate, realistic detail. Brushstrokes of the Big Sky showcases the unique fusion, capturing the essence of Montana's landscape and wildlife with vibrant colors and dynamic textures. So that's pretty much it for all your art this weekend. I do have a brand new dub and stuff from the 1961 movie Blast of Silence. Hey dude, do you mind if I join you for a second? Come on, I'm coming right over. Here we go, we can share a drink. Well, I just stopped in here to see if you would be the last one in here, and I see that, lo and behold, you're right in here, just sitting by yourself like always. I'm not really in the mood. Oh, come on, man. You're looking really well. I'm just here to be nice. Oh, did you hear about that one guy that's going around New York kissing all the ladies? Well, yeah. It's me. What, are you crazy? How is that even possible? Like, are they consenting or anything like that? What's going on? Why aren't you in jail? Perhaps you're just hiding here this whole time to try and get away from people and the police. It's not that simple. Man, it's just so unbelievable. I just don't want to think about it. You know, you do have really pretty eyes. Maybe that's... I have to admit something to you. Whoa. Hold on a second. Is it, like, come over here. Did you get a curse put on you? You know, one that would make people want to kiss you? Well, yeah, you got it right there. I knew it. That's And let me guess, it wears off after they kiss you. Oh wow, what a power, but also like a curse, right? Well, I just wanted some attention, and here I got it. Oh, would it work on anyone not of the opposite gender? Perhaps, you know, a guy like me. Would I be interested in kissing you in any way whatsoever because of this curse or whatever? Because I'm not saying that I'm interested or anything. Mm-hmm. Oh man, this is crazy. Ah man, if I had a power like that, oh God, who knows what I would get? Maybe like, it can easily be abused. Okay, but how about this? You get a politician in a compromising position kissing you, and we can get a photographer to take a photo of this. No, that's not gonna happen. Yeah, but we live in a capitalistic society, so if we don't capitalize on this, what are we even fighting for? Oh,
yeah,
come on, are you just gonna ignore me?
And
Okay,
the
listen,
salad, the
look,
Caesar
here,
salad.
let's do an experiment. Honey, get over here.
What's going on?
Let me ask you something. Do you want to kiss this man?
Well, now that you mention it. Oh, that's a lovely coat you have on there. Oh, thank you. I got it at Macy's or whatever. Well, you should know that this isn't real.
I've spoken to this about my wife many times before. She's down for anything. Oh, besides, my wife's name is Mary or whatever.
He's very forgetful.
I should really be on my way. Sorry that your husband...
Don't worry. My husband has the eyes of an eagle, but a heart of a pig. Always looking for a new hustle.
Oh, bribery! Here, have this present and this present.
A little bit of bribery goes a long way.
That's what we always say. Come on.
Okay, whatever.
All right, welcome back. Let's jump right in to some things that are happening around the city of Missoula beyond just your art guide. If you're interested in doing some Mommy and Me workout classes, Bonner Park does it every single weekday starting at 9:30 a.m. in Bonner Park. In Power Place, open play hours at the Missoula Food Bank is a great opportunity for kids to learn reading, exhibits, all sorts of fun things like that. It's kind of like Tiny Tales at the Missoula Food Bank, which also is a branch of the Missoula Public Library and Spectrum Discovery Center. So a lot of different things happening at the food bank, kicking things off at 10 a.m. this morning. Native Prairie Plant Volunteer Event, GW Marks Exploration Center and Rocky Mountain Gardens is hosting a native prairie garden planting, helping us preserve local biodiversity by participating in our native prairie garden planting. This happened from 10 to noon today. And then also 1 to 3 with a break in between. Also, a butterfly release is happening at the Butterfly House at 10:30 a.m. Most days they do it every single day at the Missoula Butterfly House. Yarns is happening at 12 noon at the Missoula Public Library. It's a great opportunity for people to stitch and crochet and make clothes. It is every single Saturday in the Blackboard meeting room on the 4th floor of the Missoula Public Library. Matta Trader's Trunk Show at 1:11. The founders of Maureen Fletcher is showcased in the 2024 Looks from Fair Trading Fashion brand Matta Traders. Bubbles and social responsibilities, chocolates from Posh while shopping ethical clothing and jewelry. It's going to be at 1:11 starting at 2 p.m. Lego Club and after school meals is at the Missoula Public Library on the 2nd floor at 2:30 p.m. It's a great way for families to get Lego Club, but also have some after school meals provided by the Missoula Food Bank. Sounds of Ocean Planetarium Show. This is going to be doing a 5 and 7 p.m. show this weekend from June 3rd through the 10th at noon, 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. to celebrate World Oceans Day. University of Montana Planetarium is hosting Sounds of the Ocean, a special pre-recorded full dome movie designed to submerge you into the soundscape of the ocean. And 25% of all profits go to the Clark Fork Coalition. First Friday reception, Poverello, past and future. Missoula Public Library is also hosting an exhibit starting from 5 p.m. to about 7 p.m. It's to celebrate 50 years of the Poverello Center. It's an interactive exhibit display during the June on the level 4 of Missoula Public Library. The exhibit features a glimpse into Missoula as it was in the 1974, the calling to serve felt by Missoulians throughout the years, and the ability to provide food, shelter, help, and hope for the next 50 years. Anything But Susie, Imagination Brewing Company is hosting folk music by the artist Anything But Susie, starting at 6 p.m. Bob Wire's Maximum Honky Tonk is playing some acoustic music at Bound by Glory Tattoo. Karaoke at the Jack Saloon, 7 p.m. Kyle Curtis and the Promised Lands are going to be Cranky Sam Public House, playing some funk music starting at 8 p.m. Free Cycles is hosting an event with Chris Acker, Isaac Opaz at Free Cycles. It's starting at 8 p.m. Jones Zen Band is going to be at 9 p.m. at the Union Club. And then we're going to jump right into your markets and such on Saturday. Farmers Market, People's Market, and the River City Market, which happens from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. every single Saturday. You can't miss it. There's always a bunch of stuff going on. Wear It Again jewelry sale. Missoula Fairgrounds is hosting a jewelry sale starting at 8 a.m. They host it somewhere on the Missoula Fairgrounds. You can't miss it. Stars and Stripes Road Rally. They're doing a rally at the Latter-day Saints Church in Clinton, Montana, starting at 8:30 a.m. Bring your cars, trucks, motorcycles, and other vehicles to ride to veteran-themed sites. Indigenous-made supermarket at Caris Park. Caris Park is also doing an Indigenous-made supermarket, so if you go to the farmers market on Saturday, you can also check out the Indigenous-made summer market. Makerspace walk-in hours. This is the Missoula Public Library. It's a great way for people just to get engaged with the Makerspace with 3D printing, scanning, and more, starting at 10 a.m. at the Missoula Public Library. Worldwide Knit in Public with Yarns. So Yarns also has that thing happening at noon every Friday on the 4th floor, but they're doing a special thing on Saturday starting at 10 a.m. The Worldwide Knit at Public Day on June 8th. Join fiber artists around the globe bringing attention to the crafts of knitting, crocheting, and other crafts. Don't knit or crochet, but might like to give it a try. Stop by to see the library lawn from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. If weather is not suitable, meet in the level 4 Blackboard room. Story time at 10:30 a.m. every Saturday at 10:30 a.m. Moon Randolph Homestead is hosting their open hours for people to get a scope of old school homesteading in the city of Missoula starting at 11 a.m. They do this every Saturday at 11. Museum tour. Missoula Art Museum hosts a museum tour at 11 a.m. As always, every Saturday. Missoula Vet Clinic Adoption Center. So 3 local animal shelters will have pets for adoption. This is off of Highway 93. Missoula Vet Clinic is offering free first exam and core vaccines if needed. And so it's a great big adoption event starting at 11 tomorrow. Queer West Film Festival, Makers Market. So the Roxy is hosting a bunch of Queer Fest type films for Pride Month. And they're having a LGBT Film Festival host a Makers Market in the Roxy Garden, featuring 8 different makers, live music, and M80's Chicken, starting at 12 noon on Saturday. Pride Rock Painting. Golden Leaf Studios is doing a Pride Rock Painting. Also, Rainbow Crosswalk rededication on Saturday noon. So the Rainbow Crosswalk next to the Missoula Art Museum, great opportunity to get that rededication, repainting, and all that kind of stuff just in time for Pride, which will be happening a week from tomorrow. Teen Open Studio at 12:30 p.m. at the Missoula Art Museum Saturday. Kids activity, geology is everywhere. Summertime wander with herbal honey and oxy meals. They're also doing a Natural History Center thing at 1 p.m. At the Natural History Center. This is Saturday Kids activity. Wolf and Moons, Folk at Imagination Brewing Company. Some music happening there. Keller and the Keels at the Wilma is playing some bluegrass music starting at 7 p.m. at the Wilma Theater. America's Super Pageant, so if you like beauty pageants, all that kind of stuff, America's Super Pageant to help bring awareness to seat belts will be hosted at the MCT on Saturday night, starting at 7 p.m. Outlaw and the Lawman at the Jack Saloon is hosting some country music starting at 7 p.m. Argentine Tango Social Dance and Intro Lessons at the Hellgate Elks Lodge at 8 p.m. Bingo Night at Odd Pitch is going to be at Odd Pitch at 8 p.m. on Saturday. Solid State Karaoke at 9 p.m. at Westside Lanes. At Ranch Hands is going to be playing at the Union Club. DJ Chris Moon will wrap up your Saturday with the Badlanders, doing some DJ music. And if you're interested in doing some Sunday activities, starting at 10 a.m., the River Road Farm is doing a Weedy Wanders. Feeling overwhelmed by weeds in your garden? Let's flip the script and dive into many delicious, nutritious, and medical properties of these resilient plants. Weeding and discussing the various properties, qualities, and applications of different plants as they go. After the harvest, they'll make some snacks and our weedy bounties so you can take home a new appreciation of these often found garden resistance, as well as some recipe ideas from old weeds. Five Valley Accordion Club at Missoula Senior Center starting at 1 p.m. Elote Grand Opening Block Party at Southgate Mall is going to do some fine Mexican cuisine. So Elote is a new Mexican restaurant at the Southgate Mall. They're going to do a grand opening at 3 p.m. And then wrapping up your Sunday, very funny comedy open mic at VFW at 8 p.m. Karaoke at the Sunrise Saloon at 8:30 p.m. And of course, I also wanted to mention that Wednesday and Thursday, the Caris Park is hosting Out to Lunch in downtown tonight. And this week, Out to Lunch is going to be Patty Nolan and the Undeniables. And then next Thursday, is going to be featuring Blue Point. All right, so those are your events that are happening in and around. I also wanted to mention for you World War II history buffs. The 80th anniversary of D-Day was yesterday, and one World War II veteran died en route to the celebration. While en route to France to commemorate the 80th anniversary of D-Day, Robert Al Perchetti of Fairport, New York, fell ill during his stop in Germany last week and died in the hospital. His longtime priest and friend, Reverend William Leone, said he was 102 years old. And after enlisting in the U.S. in 1942, Perchetti was assigned to the radioman of the USS El Dorado, and in 1944 sailed to the Pacific, where he took part in the invasion of Iwo Jima and Okinawa. All right, so let's talk about some international news. A lot of elections happening internationally, with Mexico voted for the first female president this week, Andres Manuel López Obrador. It's kind of weird that they have a similar first name with Missoula's first female mayor in a long time as well, just saying. She's also part of a top party in Mexico and former President López Obrador, who happily retired after laying down the groundwork for more than 6 years. The country's also in the news is India's Prime Minister Modi, and Rishi Sunak in the UK is looking to hold on to power as they form their government and parties after elections. As though half the world's population votes in elections this year, voters are in a foul mood. From South Korea to Poland to Argentina, incumbents have been ousted in elections after elections. And just last week, voters in South America who have been reeling from deep poverty, inequity, and unemployment handed a historic defeat to the African National Congress, which lost its parliamentary majority for the first time since the apartheid ended in 30 years ago. So they were a very highly religious country at the time, and it's the first time they were defeated in more than 30 years. So leaders of their parties had lost 20 elections in a row until this past weekend's presidential election in Mexico, according to a tally by Stephen Levinsky, of Harvard professor of government. In the United Kingdom, Prime Minister Sunak called elections for later this summer, in which his party is expected to struggle. The Tories, as they're called, a recovery from the pandemic, to the media highlighting the tension building in the Middle East and many countries in Africa dealing with rebels and civil wars. Experts says there is one notable exception to the trend of global anger and elected leaders, places where leaders are anti-establishment, populist strongmen of all ideological persuasions. In Argentina, newly elected President Javier Milei is self-described anarcho-capitalist, dubbed the madman by admirers, remains popular despite the country's crippling economic problems that have persisted following his many of his reforms. Even in India, Modi promoted a strong Hindu background with law and order in the country, gaining support in the country. India itself has been dealing with a lot of border disputes with China, as border claims and armies been located at these borders, raising tensions with China. Although India has remained neutral in U.S. Western politics in recent years, distancing themselves from the Ukraine war, they still trade with Russia. $65.7 billion in financial in the earmark of March 2024, a 33% jump in previous years. Changes in the air, and voters are looking to change from the established leaders no matter what. In Senegal in March, voters selected a new president after incumbents unsuccessfully tried to postpone the election. In Guatemala last year, Benito Alvaro, a Scientologist, sociologist and anti-corruption crusader, won the country's election presidential despite efforts by incumbent party to block certification of his victory. U.S. elections tend to grip many other nations, as well as because of the U.S. had their hands in many organizations across the globe, and changes tend to affect the UN and other international organizations that depend on U.S. funding. In America, presidential news, former President Donald J. Trump was found guilty of 34 felonies charged surrounding the hush money given Stormy Daniels. July will be the sentencing just before the RNC National Convention in Florida. While Trump is dealing with yet another illegal loss, not to be confused with the Carroll lawsuit, which saw Trump having to pay $88.3 million, Hunter Biden will have to deal with an illegal gun charge during his drug days. He lied in federal forms to purchase a gun in 2018 by saying he wasn't in the throes of addiction. However, the book called himself out, which resulted in these two felony cases from lying on a federal document and having a gun illegally. So far, the addiction label has been used to protect and attack the high-profile son of the President of the United States. And as we're talking about politics, I might as well get into those results from Tuesday's primary elections in the state of Montana. They report, let's see here. So with all that news, Missoula Fire Department will get that levy they wanted, totaling $7 million more in tax revenue to promote a new engine and 20 permanent firefighters. Although during the presentation to the city for their annual budget, they were looking to get $9 million in additional funding to support various entities from emergency services to mental health through the mobile support team. 63% to 7% margin to vote in favor of the levy that costs around $46 annually for every $100,000 in home assessed value. So if you have a medium home price of $413,000, you would pay $189 each year. It's quite a bit of money, but this will go on to permanently supporting a growing community, firefighters, and you know, we're like I don't want to get too much into the weeds of this, but that's you know. There are rumors that the police are potentially going to be asking for a levy in November to bolster up their wages just as well. And they spoke about this during the Budget and Finance Committee meeting last Wednesday. John Tester, incumbent, will be taking on GOP new face Tim Sheehy officially after this primary this week. Monica Turnell will take on Ryan Zinke again for the Western Montana House District seat. John Driscoll will take on Troy, Troy Downing in the Eastern District seat, which will not be able to vote in Missoula, just so you know, because it's the Eastern District versus the Western District. Greg Gianforte, incumbent, will take on Democrat challenger Ryan Busey. The governorship has a 2-term limit in Montana, and this would be Gianforte's second term he's going for. The city and county of Missoula are asking voters if they want to review the county and city for $200,000 each, and were voted down. Many government reviews were pretty common among the many communities across the state, and many of them were unclear enough for people to vote against, with only a few getting the review as a result. But when we look at the presidential election trends in terms of voter turnout, Donald Trump got around 161,000 votes in Montana, and Biden got 92,000 votes as of Thursday numbers. And so those are the basically reporting 98 to 99% of voters coming in. And those are the just kind of like what you might expect for the November election this year. So yeah, it's coming up real quick. A lot of things happening. And yeah, I don't have much more to say. Like I said before, all the graduations are available on YouTube and Facebook for those of you looking to watch your kid graduate again, or for those of you who missed your kids and your extended family's graduation for last weekend. So you guys can check that out, MCAT. You can find that at MCAT's YouTube page. Also, MCAT.org has featured YouTube videos on our website as well that you can check out some of our most recent programming and more. We've been uploading a lot of old programming that MCAT has done over the years. It's a great way to kind of dive back into some of the old school MCAT stuff. And I will stop talking. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Take care, and I'll see you later.